Francesca Stavrakopoulou's work. Now that would be difficult to pronounce if you didn't know how to do it.
Francesca Stavrakopoulou joins us today on MythVision podcast to discuss the curse of Cain. What is this mark on his forehead, and he's exiled out of the land, away from his family? And how does this play into the actual situation in the ancient Israelite religion? Is there something to it? Stay tuned for her brilliance. Get a copy of her book. She is so well spoken. This is her week on MythVision. Dr. Stavrakopoulou, if I may, as far as the curse thing goes, speaking of curses and blessings, Cain gets a curse on his forehead. You mention in your book that priests would put a sign on their forehead or something in the temple, and the priests would wear a mark in the temple on their foreheads. Does this play any role in Cain's curse? You do say it does in some way. Can you tell us what's going on with that?
I think this is basically about amulets. So it's basically about, so if you think about the way in which, so in Shema, in Deuteronomy, Yahweh via Moses tells the Israelites that they are to write the words of all this Torah, this law, bind it on their hands and bind it on, it should be like an amulet between their eyes. So this is for those of who are familiar with kind of very traditional Jewish practice, this is tefillin, so the little boxes or pouches that are worn on the head and on the hands. So these are kind of like almost like power words that act as amulets. Amulets aren't kind of just a good luck charms. They are apotropaics. In other words, they ward off harm. They ward off evil. And that's exactly what happens with the high priest in certain biblical texts. The high priest has to kind of write the name belonging to Yahweh on his head before he goes into the temple, because it almost like protects him from the dangerous glare and presence of the deity. And so in the same way, even though God is mega pissed off with Cain because he offers the wrong kind of sacrifice, poor guy, not even told the rules, do you know what I mean? And he offers the wrong kind of sacrifice. And then he kills his brother, which is the bigger crime, let's face it. And then so, he's expelled again, like his parents were expelled from Eden. Cain is then expelled from the presence of Yahweh, and he has to kind of wander around, to the edges of the world. And he worries that he's going to become, he's going to be a target. He's going to be a target for hate crime, and sort of vigilantes. And so Yahweh writes a protective mark on him, which again so it's the idea that writing, not just the words that are written, but the actual presence of the written words of any kind of word, the presence of writing was almost like a magical, powerful amulet, and it could protect. That's why you have writing in tombs and that kind of thing. It protects the dead in their tombs, much like these amulets on the high priest's head and on Cain's head protect them from harm as well.
This was practiced well before Yahweh.
It's very common. I mean, that's why, stamp seals or cylinder seals, these little things that are pressed and rolled, inscribed, pressed or rolled into wet clay to seal jars of olives or to seal documents or whatever. They also functioned as little amulets. You wore them on the body. They were made of stone or sometimes bone. And they weren't just jewelry. They were like protective amulets as well, with like writing on them. So it's all a part and parcel of this much broader world in which words like inscriptions and images worn on the body could play this kind of protective role, like an amulet.
It's almost like people who feel lucky when they wear their cross and they're out somewhere and they just feel like they have protection. Well put.